Your book has maybe 10 seconds to convince a reader to keep going. Is that harsh? Maybe. But is it true? Yes, absolutely. A killer opening can hook a reader for the whole ride, but a flat one, not so much. So that's a great way to have a reader close the book and put it on their did not finish pile. Today, that's what we're talking about, the difference between openings that hook and openings that will lose readers and how you can make sure yours lands on the right side, the hooky side. I'm Melissa Bourbon, author of more than 35 novels, writing coach, cover designer, and founder of Writer's Spark Academy. Thursdays are all about craft here on Bourbon and Books, and this is the 5th video in our story structure series. A huge part of my philosophy as a writer and as a coach is about paying it forward. I have learned so much from editors, mentors, and other authors along the way who have nudged me past those sort of early mistakes. And sharing all of that with you is my way of giving back so you can learn from the mistakes that I've made and avoid them yourself. Openings are one of my favorite things to talk about because they carry so much weight. And if you've ever stared at your first page wondering if it's enough, then stick around. I have some examples to share with you and to show you kind of what works and what doesn't. And then at the end, I have a simple test you can use to help you know if you have a hooky enough opening scene. Let's start with what actually does hook a reader. First of all, it's not about explosions or dead bodies on page 1, although this certainly can work. In my opinion, a strong opening does 3 things. First, it raises a question. Readers want to know what happens next. That's how you're hooking them. So, for example, in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, it doesn't open with magic fireworks. It opens with the Dursleys trying to stay normal in a normal world that clearly isn't a normal world. And we are left with the question, why and what are they hiding? What is going on? In The Bibliomancer's Daughter, I opened with Pippin sensing the weight of secrets in her family's home. So readers instantly wonder, what secrets? Why don't they want to be there? Why does her brother not want to be there? And what could she discover there? So I'm leaving the reader with questions. The second thing that an opening does, a hooky opening, is that it establishes voice. If your opening feels flat, readers aren't going to connect. Voice tells them who they're going to be spending 300 plus pages with. I love Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. It has such a quirky, sharp narrative voice, and it hooks you before you have any clue what the plot is actually about. So that's a great example of voice. You want to grab the reader, hook the reader with voice. The third way to really hook the reader is to hint at conflict or tension. Your book needs conflict. Readers need to feel that something is brewing. In the Hunger Games, the opening is not the games. We don't jump into that. It's Katniss waking up in District 12, hungry, desperate, already carrying tension. We are hooked way before the first arrow flies, way before she offers herself up as tribute. So we have questions. Why is she so desperate? Why is she hungry? What is this place? And that is hooking the reader right away. All right, conversely, what makes a reader set a book down, which is what we do not want? The first is info dumps. If your opening feels like a textbook or it's like full of backstory right out of the gate, a reader's eyes are going to glaze over. They're not going to be interested. They have no context. We don't want the entire history of your world on page 1. You need to parse it out. So don't dump things right at the beginning. The second thing to avoid so that people don't put down your book is a generic start. Waking up, looking in the mirror, driving to work. Unless you have an amazing twist, these things are pretty stale and they're going to leave the reader bored. There's nothing memorable about that type of an opening, so don't do that. 3 is no momentum. Nothing is happening externally or internally. Why is a reader going to keep reading if there's nothing going on? If there's no momentum, if there's no building of tension. I've edited manuscripts where the first chapter was kind of like a warm-up. The real story actually started in chapter 2, and that's what I tell those authors. If that is you, you've got to be brave. You've got to cut the warm-up. It's hard to do, cutting those little darlings, as they say, but it's going to make your book so much stronger. When I first started writing, I had to learn this lesson the hard way, like so many of us do, right? My early drafts had way too much setup. I wanted readers to know everything about the world before the action began. I thought that was what was going to get them invested. Over time, I have realized that writing is really more about trust. You can trust your readers to fill in the gaps as you unfold the story. Sometimes I still do need to write the warm up for myself to get to know the characters, to get to know my world, things like that. But I end up cutting those opening scenes and reducing my ordinary world to something much faster and pacing so I can get to the heart of the story quicker and hook the reader. Okay, here's that simple test I told you about at the beginning. It's a simple test for you to determine if your opening has what it takes to hook your reader. Hand your first page to a friend or someone who doesn't know your story at all, a neighbor. Ask them, what's the question this opening makes you want answered? How do you feel about the character's voice? And do you sense tension? Those three things. Let me say those again. You want to ask this random person who hasn't read your story, what's the question this opening makes you want answered? How do you feel about the character's voice? And do you sense tension? These are key questions. And if they cannot answer those three questions, I suggest that you go back and rework that opening scene, because a strong opening is going to create curiosity, it's going to show voice, and it's going to stir conflict. Here's the big takeaway. A great opening is not about action, it's about intrigue. Readers don't need all the answers. They just need one irresistible reason to keep turning the page, and you've got to give that to them. You're the author, the architect of your story. So start with a hook that's going to give the reader a question they want answered, a voice that really draws them in, and tension, tension, tension. These are the things that are going to hook your reader and make your story start off really, really strong. Okay, that's it. Give this video a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss next week's Craft Thursday. We're going to be talking about why middles often fall flat, that saggy middle we all dread, and of course, then how to fix that. And if you want more tools to strengthen your stories, check out the links in the description for my self-paced online courses on novel writing, cozy mystery, novel writing, world building, the novel blueprint character guide, and so much more. Until next time, happy writing.
Ain't never needed Poppy's blessing, no. You need keep working just to get it, though. I know she carried your whole world.